Okay, hi everyone. I thought I would talk a little bit today about my stay in the psych ward. Um, I figure either you guys have also been there and you could relate and we could swap stories, or if you haven't been there, you probably wonder what it's like to go there or, what it's like to have stayed there. I was having a rough time and I was feeling really suicidal and I was feeling very impulsive about it. And I thought that one thing or the other was going to happen. I was going to either um, impulsively kill myself or I could call somebody for help. So I called the crisis center and they urged me to go to the emergency room, which I did. So then they admitted me. I stayed for 5 days. Um, and the first thing they make you do is, I had like drawstrings on my pants and I had shoelaces and things like that. So they take anything, your jewelry that's either valuable or that you could use to hurt somebody or anything like that. So they take that stuff away from you and they put it in their safe or whatever. And your belongings also, there's certain things you can have in your room and then there's certain things that they keep locked up to where like you could go and use them, like say a hairbrush. You could go use the hairbrush and then give it back to them and they lock it up again until the next time you want to use your hairbrush. Things like that. Um, Anything that could be possibly used to hurt yourself or somebody else. So in the psych ward of our hospital, it's 2 floors. You have one floor, and I was admitted late at night, so we went to the floor with the bedrooms on it. Um, on the one floor is the bathrooms and the showers and the bedrooms, and on the lower floor is the living area. So I was admitted and went upstairs to where the bedrooms are, and they gave me something to sleep in. I went in, I didn't bring any clothes. I didn't know if I was going to end up staying or not. I kind of thought I was going to because I said I was suicidal, but I didn't know if I was going to stay overnight or not. So I didn't bring anything. And so they gave me a hospital gown to change into, and they watch you change and everything. And so after that, it was pretty much bedtime. So they kind of showed me around the upstairs and showed me to my room. And the rooms are funny because, and you have a roommate, usually, typically. These are 2 beds to a room. Um, and the rooms are very different than a regular part of the hospital because they're very sparse because, they don't want you to hurt yourself on anything. So there's no wires on the beds. The beds aren't the, adjustable beds. They're just flat beds. Um, there are there aren't wires everywhere. Um, the rooms, they didn't have TVs or anything like that. And just the room was just basically the beds, a dresser, and the light fixtures were fluorescent lights that were in the ceiling. So there wasn't even any light fixture type things or anything like that. Um, Again, no TV and very sparse. And then when you go into the bathroom, it's funny. There's no faucets. There's no toilet flusher. There's just like a button for the sink, for the water in the sink, and there's a button that flushes the toilet because you could like unscrew the handles and use them as weapons and things like that. And it's funny because it really, like, you sit in there and you wonder, not in the bathroom but in the psych ward itself, and you sit there and wonder, like, what could I use to hurt myself or somebody else with, because they're so um, tight about stuff like that. Um, the toilet paper holder in the wall, it was like a hole that was in the wall, and you just kind of shove the toilet paper roll in there because they don't want to have one of the hospital type ones where you rip it off and there's that razor blade type thing there. Um, and they don't even give you a roll holder. It's just a hole where you place the toilet paper. Um, that's another thing. Paper towels. They don't have a hot air blower for when you wash your hands, or a paper towel dispenser. They just have a stack of paper towels for you. Um, so those are the rooms. They're pretty simplified, and so you can't hurt yourself or anybody else. Then there is the shower, And that's what you pretty much do. When you wake up in the morning, your day pretty much starts like you wake up, you go get your vitals taken. They come after you at some point and give you your medications. You take a shower. And in the shower, it's a push button, and the water is non-adjustable. So, and it's funny because in the one bathroom, the water would stay really cold and you had to wait and wait and wait for it to warm up. But anyway, and you push the button and the shower head is like way, way up high. And so you can't reach it or anything like that. And there's nothing else in there besides, the wall and the floor and, whatever. And you have to bring your stuff in there, your soap and your shampoo and stuff like that. And everything is like, it's in such a way that everything gets wet. So like your clothes and your towels, you have to like put over into the corner so they don't get wet. So let's see, I said, then you take your medications. Then we would go downstairs, and that's where you your caffeine was sort of rationed. You could only have it in the morning, so everyone was happy to get coffee in the morning. And they had little snacks and things like that. That was kind of before breakfast. It was, I think they'd expect you to be up at 7:30 in the morning. And that's another thing, is that you had to wear street clothes. They didn't want you, unless you literally didn't have anything. They didn't want you wearing a hospital gown or anything like that. They want you wearing a shirt and jeans or whatever it is, as long as it doesn't have any, shoelaces or tie at the waist, a drawstring or anything like that. So we would just chill out. There was a room that was a kitchenette and a dining area and one TV for everybody, which you would think would maybe cause some problems, but anyway, it didn't. And there's some recreational things to do in there, cards and books to read and things like that. So you just hang out in there, and then you eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's interesting because you can't have forks or knives. We had to eat everything with a spoon, and one night we had steak. So that was really fun to try to eat our steak with a spoon. So most of us ended up freehanding it, We had no other choice really, and it was actually pretty good food there. So the steak was pretty good, and you wanted to eat it. So we're all eating steak with our hands, which is just funny. No forks even, which I wouldn't think about these things, to be honest with you, but I guess, you can't have them, so you're stuck eating steak with a spoon. Anyway, so you had, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, of course, and in between there you would have like groups and meetings and stuff, and in the morning you would have a group, and you would have to take kind of roll call. And that's another thing, is that you can't spend all your time in your room. If you're able to, you need to spend the day downstairs with everybody, so you're interacting with the groups that go on and just the people that are there and everything. So okay, so they would have groups. You would take roll call. You would set a goal for the day. You might do some relaxation exercises or some deep breathing exercises or something like that. And a lot of the day is spent just kind of bullshitting with everybody, walking the halls and things like that. You're allowed visitors. There's 2 times during the day where you're allowed visitors. And they get, searched every time they come in, and everything. And there's different rooms. And they're set up really nicely so that everybody pretty much has their own little spot where they can have company and not be bothered by everybody else. Let's see. Oh, we used to have these, we had these other groups that were like kind of insulting, because, you go in a room and it was called creative therapy or something like that. And it was pretty much bullshit, because they'd give you, like construction paper and glue sticks, not even kid scissors, and these cutout shapes from magazines and words and things like that from magazines. And basically you glued them, and you know, feathers and things like that, and you glued them to the construction paper. That was, you know, creative therapy. It was just kind of insulting because it was kind of juvenile and ridiculous. And but we were lucky because this one kid who was there, who unfortunately, you know, he was, I believe he had schizophrenia or something like that, and but he was a really young, bright kid, really talented, and there was an acoustic guitar in there, and he knew how to play, and he could sing really well, and he wrote his own music. So while we were doing these stupid art activities that were insulting, he would sing and play guitar, and that was really cool. I think you get to meet some cool and interesting people in there. Um, you know, and the same thing that makes these people really cool and smart and intelligent and bright and interesting is the same thing that makes them suffer a lot of times. And so that was sad. Another thing is, I've heard a couple people say this, and I just want to set the record straight. A couple people I've seen say that they need sleep really bad, and they need to rest, and that they want to go into the hospital so they can get some sleep. Like I said before, you are encouraged to stay in the general public area with everybody else. You are not really allowed to just go in there and sleep the whole time. So if you're really going in there just because you think you need a vacation and you need a little bit of rest, that's not the place to go, because you really, unless your medications are sedating you so bad, or unless there's special circumstances, they're not going to let you just sleep all the time. So I just wanted to set that straight. Another thing is that the only real reason to go there is if you are a danger to yourself or others. The only real thing that I got out of it was that they kept me safe. They don't do a lot of, at least they didn't with me, they don't do a lot of examining of your head. They don't do a lot of medication changes. They just make sure you take your medication. They make sure you stick with sort of the routine of the day of, waking up, eating breakfast, eating, going to groups, going to bed at a certain time every night, taking your medications, things like that. So they kind of just keep you on track with that, and they keep you safe because you can't really hurt yourself while you're in there. They're not going to really give you a full workup. They're not going to really, that's meant more for after you leave there, where you'll go and get a full diagnosis. 5 days, believe it or not, is a long time. And I should say there was an aspect actually of being in there that did make me feel safe. And so the day before I was supposed to get out of there, I was having really bad panic attacks. And I realized it's because I had to go home. And while I was starting to feel better in there, I was afraid to go home and go back to my normal situation, which was miserable at the time for me. So I began to feel really, really safe in there, and I was panicking at the thought of going home to my regular routine again, and that the same thing would happen, and that I wouldn't feel safe. At the same time, you do want to get out of there. 5 days is a long time, and they don't fill up enough of your time with doing things so that you're pacing the halls and you're going stir crazy. So that was pretty much my venture of staying in the psych ward. I hope I never have to go back again, although I should say that if I did have to, I wouldn't be afraid or anything like that. It's not a scary place. They treat you very well. They're, at least in our hospital, they treat you well. They don't mistreat you or anything like that. So I think that's all I have to say about my experience with the psych ward. I hope you never have to go. If you do, it's not a scary place, and I hope not to go back there though. So that's my experience, and I hope I entertained you for a few minutes. And until next time, I'm out.